want to go and pay a lot less guaranteed. Call the International Travel Department right now at Low Cost Airlines.
800-452-1075. 800-452-1075. That's 800-452-1075.
Guten Tag, wie geht's? Ja, wir fangen wieder an. Hier ist der Patrick, der Food Biz Pro. Why the hell am I speaking German, Ron? I think the fact that I'm only in here one day a week is messing with my head. I don't know, and it's funny because I haven't even been thinking anything German today. Not even remotely related. I was thinking about bizarre Japanese foods, which we'll get into later, but that really had nothing to do with that intro. And if you don't know what I said, well, too bad, so sad. Learn German and interpret it, or go back to listen to it very slowly, separate the words, and maybe you can figure it out. So, yes, folks, I am on once a week now on Wednesdays. Yep. And I'm not even lining up big stars. Y'all are just going to have to listen to me talk about food, fun, wine, whining, and sippy cups. So before I get distracted today, I'm going to read a little letter from one of our listeners. And they actually sent two, so I'll have to say thank you. But if you haven't heard, I have a bit of a drinking problem, so to speak. So here it goes. Dear Celebrity Master Chef Patrick. Wow, kind words already. I'm feeling pretty good about myself. A few months back, I heard that you have a drinking problem. Okay, not feeling so good about myself now. You confessed that you spill shit all the time. Yes, I do. While traveling this summer, I saw my 2-year-old nephew. I was excited to see that he had an answer to your drinking problem. Enjoy. With a couple of funny little emojis, the really funny laughing one and the ones with the sunglasses. That's from Melissa, a.k.a. Melissa Sippy, one of our listeners, been a long time. She's one of Doc's fans. Basically, I've seen these before, and I'm surprised that Ron did not buy one first after I've stained this carpet at least 45 times with coffee. Not to mention, I have ruined 2 mic switches and at least 1 electrical outlet. I'm surprised I haven't actually blown a breaker yet, but... If you're looking, it says Chef Patrick. How very kind of you to put my name on there. Kind of hard to see if you're watching today on Facebook. But this is one of the. It's who's the manufacturer? It's the Munchkin Manufacturing Company, or that's the trademark, but whatever manufacturing company it is. But it's a spill-proof cup, basically. It can fall over, and you might lose a drop or two. But the great thing is you can drink from any direction, right? And if you don't fill the cup more than halfway full, you never spill a drop. Not to mention, when you're traveling, it has this little rubber cover, which snaps on, which actually is easier to put on and take off than a Tupperware lid. Very, very, very kind. Actually, there's a travel mug that came with this, a travel-style cold, hot, drinkable, or whatever, travel cup, whatever the hell you want to call it. Not the Y brand. It's the same Munchkins brand, without my name on it. So I think Ron may have to claim that. Because, Ron, I believe you have a lot of stained T-shirts as well. So I am not the only clumsy one in the studio. I'm not calling you out or anything, and you did not ruin the rental car. I'm glad that was we didn't have to pay for any damage to that, because I did spill coffee into the center console, which had a charging platform on top with lots of little electronic outlets. But thank you very much. Very kind and thoughtful. I will put it to good use, especially next time I'm heavily drinking. I'm just going to put my tequila in here so I don't spill it. All right. But for those of you who know me, I'm more of a bourbon drinker. So, all right. Enough of that one. But, I got all these interesting gifts over the last few months. Richard Brent, I've mentioned you a few times. A couple of other people, I brought your gifts up, and I thank you very much. Very kind, very funny, and I'm glad that you're keeping things in the spirit that we all started this in, because this is food and fun, by the way. Spoony Radio. So where do you find us? Anywhere, hashtag Spoony Radio. Any social media, at Spoony Radio, any social media. Food Biz Pro, at Food Biz Pro is myself, or at Patrick Mosher, or Spoony.com. If you want to listen live 24/7, go to Spoony.com, click on the link, and you will listen through somewhere. I don't know where you'll listen through. Probably iHeartRadio. Or you can go to Spreaker.com or iTunes. You can listen to my podcast, Trey's Chat on Live. A number of other podcasts are up and running. I believe we have Family Meal from Mark Conway. Andy Imhoff's Pardon My Fork, and Cody Stort's Reckless. We have a bunch of people out there. Anyway, now if I missed anyone, then feel free to text me or join in, watch the Facebook Live video, and comment that I forgot to mention you, and I will mention. Oh, Randy White, into the fire. And by the way, please go to Instagram and like the Spoony Radio page, and then also my page at Food Biz Pro. We're growing like wildfire. I believe in 2 months, I went from 460 some followers to about 1,500. So thank you very much for following. And I try to do a little funny post each day before my live show, or each Wednesday before my live show now. So check it out. It's fun. And if it's not fun, tell me what the hell you want to see. So, all right, so I'm going to log in here and see who's commented, because I'm sure there are people commenting already. I hope so. Dustin Caudill, yep. Nope. Me too. We found Patrick. Hashtag we found Patrick. That's funny. Yes, you did. All right. A bunch of stuff that I want to cover today. It's funny because I always think I don't have enough content for 2 hours, but then Ron reminds me how much I love to hear myself talk, especially about food. And so I'm going to talk about food. And the first thing is that, hand pies, little individual pies, have been around for a very long time. However, I kind of like the savory ones better. But if I'm going to have a little individual pie, then the one I like is the like a cherry turnover, little cherry pie, hand pie. And today, I didn't bring it up randomly. It just happens to be, guess what? It's National Cherry Turnover Day. I think I talked about this last year. As a matter of fact, I know I did. And National Cherry Turnover Day. So let's go ahead and read this. I don't know why it's on August 28th, but I'm sure that there's some reason for it. Nope, there's not. They were unable to find the creator of National Cherry Turnover Day. So we'll just say, you know what? I created National Cherry Turnover Day about 14 years ago. I wrote into the National Day Calendar Committee and said, I would like August 28th every year to be National Cherry Turnover Day. Would you please do me the honor and do cherries the justice? And therefore, I will now take credit. If no one knows, then no one knows. Chef Patrick Mosher, 18 years ago to this day, on August 28th of 2001, declared that National Cherry Turnover Day be celebrated every year on August 28th. Okay? So it's my fault, or to my credit. Anyway, National Cherry Turnover Day is on August 28th. It praises the tasty and sweet hand pie. I love hand pies, by the way, little individual pies. And what's great is you can eat them at room temperature or hot right out of the oven. But hot right out of the oven, they're not hand pies. They're plate pies with ice cream and whipped cream. So just my thoughts there. All right, so these little cherry-filled pastries are best enjoyed hot. However, like any pie, you may eat them at room temperature too. Blah, 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 blah. Yes, whipped cream or a scoop of cherries, a scoop of ice cream. But the easiest way to make these, right, is to buy puff pastry. And by turnover, you're basically just turning the dough over on itself. So if you want to make them really easily, then you go to the store, you buy some puff pastry, you let it defrost if it's frozen, or you just bring it out, take it out of the bag, cut probably a 5x5 square. Take a little bit of pre-prepared cherry filling, put a dollop in the middle, put a little egg wash around the perimeter, fold it over, crimp that shut with a fork, bake them at, probably 350 to 375 for about 20 minutes until that puff pastry puffs up and gets nice and crispy. To make them really special, you can actually brush the top with egg yolks, or egg yolk is fine, or an egg wash, or even milk. Take some of the large, you can buy this large granular sugar that's made for decorating cupcakes or other pies and things like that. You can get the red, the yellow, the white. Just get plain white, large crystal sugar and sprinkle that on there before you bake it. And if you want to get really fancy, then you can make your own royal icing, which is basically water, lemon juice, and powdered sugar. That's the stuff that comes in a little packet when you make cinnamon rolls, right? The cinnamon rolls, Pillsbury cinnamon rolls, et cetera, et cetera. That's royal icing, which is royally good, by the way. And that's just, it's really simple. Lemon juice, powdered sugar, and water. But now I like to use tart cherries, by the way, or sour cherries. They're really good. Now you can make them. I put a recipe up, which we'll go through in a minute. But there's something really comforting about just a single serving pie. It makes them portable, so you don't have to share. So when brother or sister come along, you're not sitting at the table running away with a plate of pie or a slice of pie on a plate, running, trying to keep it from falling off while eating it before they can get to it, right? You just run away and hold it in your hand. It's easy. It's also one serving per actual individual pie. So going back and trying to even out the pie, making sure that this half is like you have a cut straight across, or, oh, that wasn't exactly 1/4 of a pie after everybody ate. I'm going to have to like even that up. You ate the whole portion, and if you eat another one, that's a second whole portion. So portion control is under control. And why cherries? Well, cherries have they're a really powerful antioxidant. They antioxidants, they help damage the repair damage to cells or prevent damage to cells from free radicals. They have a big anti-inflammatory reaction in the body, and according to many medical journals, they may help reduce the risk of heart disease too. You can find out more about there's actually a really cool website called Nutrition and You, and you can find a bunch about it there. But I was looking at some other fun cherry facts, which I posted on the website. And the first one is that they're a stone fruit, and they're related to plums, peaches, and nectarines. Oh, good time for peaches and nectarines right now, by the way. They're called drupes as well. Stone fruit and drupes are the same thing. What does that mean? It means it has a big pit in the middle, and with cherries, just don't bite too hard if you don't know if there's a pit in it, because, there's a pit in it. So cherries were brought to North America in the 1600s by the English colonists. There are more than 1,000 varieties of cherries in the United States, and there's an average of 44 cherries in 1 pound. So anyway, if you want to know hashtag what's for dessert today, go to Spoony Radio's Facebook page, check out the recipe link that I put there from Food and Wine, and I think that's actually a really good one. It's made with tart cherries. It's a really tasty treat. So check that out, and we'll keep you going. Now I'm really, really hungry. I have to start eating lunch before I come in. I have to. If I don't, there's going to be a real problem. See how I saw Ron was going to change the camera angle there. If you're watching, I strategically have my elbow in front of my fat belly right now when he goes to camera 2 on my profile. Yeah, and I wore a lighter color, right? So, no, I'm just joking. You can have it switch automatically. But I've been trying to lose a little weight, folks. It's summertime. It's really hot. And, I don't know if you know, but I'm not very good at riding a bicycle, and I tend to fall over, although it's my favorite form of athletic endeavor, that and rock climbing. So I'm working on it. So did we talk about this last week on the air? I feel like we may have spoken about this on the air, but I love Japanese food. Whether it was last week or not, we've spoken about that many, many, many times. So I was looking, and I love ramen. Ramen is one of my favorite foods ever. So my friend, Jeffrey Klein, he's also my business partner, he sent me a great article about the 24 best ramen shops in America. Now, you can find one that's the top 15, et cetera, et cetera. But this seemed to be a pretty thorough list for a lot of different reasons. And I don't know if you like ramen or not, but I don't care. I love ramen. So, Travis, why? Let's go back and see a few comments here real quick. Travis Watkins, is Brad hiding out at the Desert Air Motel to recover from his transition surgery? You can tell us here. We'll keep it a secret. You know what? I haven't seen Brad in almost a week, so I don't know. I'll have to check it out. I must say that if you did not see the post by Brad Staggs for Mojo 50 Radio where he and the bear were sitting drunk in the chair, you must go to Instagram and look that up, because it was really funny. Brad does this series of posts called Somewhere in Texas. Every morning he does a really funny post, and it actually is one of my very favorite morning things to watch. So, Marie Daniels, yay, dang, glad they found you. Yeah, me too, because I was lost. I don't know where I was or what I was doing. I think I may have been once again abducted by aliens, although I'll never know because they don't let you know. They wipe the memory right after. Oh, hey, let's go through this recipe real quick, because if you don't know how to make this sour cherry turnovers from scratch, then I'd like to tell you. And then we'll get into these bizarre foods from Japan right after we talk about the top 24 ramen shops in the United States. All right, so let's see. I'm going to have to hit this on reader view so I can actually read it. So let's go through the ingredients, which of course they don't give you get a reader view. So pretty simple. You need 2 cups of pitted sour cherries. That's about 10 ounces, fresh or thawed, frozen, blah, blah, blah. You can buy really good frozen sour cherries. Actually, Kroger brand, they have an excellent frozen sour cherry. I use them in all sorts of smoothies. If you actually buy fresh cherries, spend the $8 and buy a cherry pitter. It's a very simple device to use. Oh, what is a cherry pitter, do you say? It kind of looks like a garlic press. However, there's a hole in the bottom portion. Instead of being like a sift or just a square with like a garlic press would be, where you just squish it through and it extrudes it out the bottom and you get crushed garlic. It actually has a hole just large enough for the pit to go through. So you pull all the stems, you put one at a time, you put them in there and you just plop it in. You press it, the pit comes out, and then you put the next one in, so on and so forth. It really doesn't take that long, right? There are about 44 cherries per pound, so it's not that many. You only need a couple of pounds to make a pie. And so you need 2 cups of pitted sour cherries, right? The frozen ones were fine. 1 tablespoon of cornstarch, 1 cup plus 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar, 2 tablespoons of fresh lemon juice, 1.5 tablespoons of finely grated lemon zest. Remember, you don't have to write it down. It's on the Facebook page of Spoony Radio. 1.5 teaspoon pure vanilla extract, salt to taste, just a sprinkle, a pinch or so. You need 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter softened, 3/4 cups of confectioner's sugar, 1 large egg, and 3/4 cup confectioner's sugar. You can just use regular granulated if you want to. 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, plus more for rolling, to throw on the table. And you need dusting the countertop. 1.25 pounds of all-purpose or all butter puff pastry. I don't know if you can buy all butter puff pastry, but maybe. 1 egg yolk mixed with 1 tablespoon of water. Pearl sugar or granulated sugar for sprinkling. That's what I was thinking, pearl sugar. Vanilla ice cream for serving. And it's pretty straightforward. Preheat the oven to 350. And in an 8-inch glass or ceramic baking dish, mix the cherries, the cornstarch, granulated sugar, lemon juice, 1/2 teaspoon of the lemon zest, half teaspoon of the lemon zest, 1/4 teaspoon of the vanilla, and a pinch of salt. Now, people say, why are you putting lemon zest in there and lemon juice? It's because even though those are tart cherries, the acid in the lemon juice helps bring out the sweetness in the sugar. There's this great contradiction of flavors there, contrast, which opens up the taste buds, and it actually makes it taste a little richer. Like putting that pinch of salt in actually helps to bring out the sweetness as well. All right, so 1/4 teaspoon of the vanilla and a pinch of salt, right? You bake for about 35 minutes until the juice is starting to thick and it gets kind of bubbly, and then you drain the cherries. You reserve the juice for another use. You can put it in the fridge, and you could use it as like a syrup or something. Ooh, when you make French toast or something in the next couple of days, that would be good. Okay, then you chill them. Chill the cherries down till they're cool, and then in a medium bowl, whisk the butter with the confectioner's sugar until it's smooth. You could probably do that in a hand mixer. I mean, in some sort of bowl mixer if you need to. Whisk in the egg, then whisk in the 2 tablespoons of flour, and then the remaining 1 teaspoon of lemon zest, 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla, and whisk in a pinch of salt. Chill until firm. And then it's pretty straightforward from there. You line the large baking sheet with parchment paper, and you, on a lightly floured work surface, roll out the puff pastry to a 15 by 20 inch rectangle, about 1/8 of an inch thick. Yeah, it's about right. Maybe a little thicker, even 1/4 inch would be okay. cut the puff pastry into 5-inch squares. I was right. That was a good guess before, 5-inch squares. And transfer them to a plate and refrigerate for about 10 minutes. Okay, the reason you want to do that is you want the butter to harden up again. And so that you have a nice cold puff pastry to start with. Then you take them out, you arrange the squares one at a time on a work surface, and then you keep them all. I only take out like 3 at a time, keep the rest chilled. And then you brush 2 of the edges, right? So if it's a square, you only have to brush 2 edges, 2 adjoining edges with the egg wash. That's the egg with the milk. Or water, the egg yolk with water. And then you dollop a tablespoon or so of the lemon filling in the center of each square and top it with 7 of the cherries. Fold the puff pastry over, making sure that you leave the 2 adjacent, the 2 that you've brushed with the egg wash on the table, or the other 2 on the table. Fold them over, and then like I said, you can push the edges with your fingers, or you can crimp it with a fork, or you can do whatever you want to make sure it's sealed, but make sure it's sealed. And then just transfer them to the parchment-lined baking sheet. Do the rest of them. I typically refrigerate them for 10 to 15 minutes, or until they kind of firm up, but before baking them. And before you bake them, you want to increase the heat in the oven to 400, right? And then that's it. If you want to make them look really fancy, or prettier rather, after you've crimped the edges, you can use a sharp knife to kind of trim that edge really flat and straight. And that's pretty much it. You cut a couple of steam holes in the top, bake it for 40 minutes, and away you go. Serve them at room temperature, serve them hot out of the oven, little scoop of ice cream on the side, and voila, you have a delicious dessert. All right. Again, that's up on the website, on the Facebook page, so you can see it there. Yeah. All right. Here we go. All right, folks, invite your friends to watch. It's going to be a fun day, because here we go. We're going to talk about we're down to 3 minutes left. All right, we're down to 3 minutes. Let's talk about the rest of the show. It's Wine Down Wednesday, and it just happens to be National Red Wine Day. So although I don't have any red wine with me, which is inappropriate because I have a sippy cup, which would allow me not to stay in this beautiful light gray chef coat that I have from Chef Works out of San Diego. I'll just have to suffice with some coffee and some water and just talk about wine with Laura Geen of Ramo de Olivo, a beautiful wine bar and olive oil shop up in Bentonville, Arkansas. Yes, I'm talking about Bentonville again, but it's a great time of year to be up there, and we're going to talk a little red wine and Chenin Blanc, which is a tasting that she has today. So she's going to bring us into the fold on that. I'm going to look up in the meantime, what are the most popular red wines in America, and how does that differ from some of the other parts of the world? As a matter of fact, we've done the ice cream challenge, so why don't you go ahead and tell me, what is your favorite red wine? What's your favorite red wine and why? I absolutely love big, bold cabs, right? I like anything from anything. I like Pinots, Pinot Noirs. I like even Merlots. Merlots are pretty good. They're a little on the sweet side, a little heavy tannins, kind of sweet. A lot of residual sugar, rather. But I love big, bold Cabernets. I like Zinfandels. But nothing gets just a big, bold Cab. Jordan's Cabernet, they're new, 2015. Cabernet rolled out. The first one aged in all oak from France. I was lucky enough to go to Kent Rathbun's home for a big tasting, a couple months back. It was kind of a pre-rollout tasting and event. Beautiful wine. Oh, my gosh. They had that and 2 others, but that was by far my favorite. So it's National Red Wine Day. What do we do on Red Wine Day? We drink red wine. So put your thinking caps on, get your drinking bib on, and grab yourself a glass of red wine. If you can knock off work early, we start locally at 2:30, which is 3:30 Eastern Time. Laura Geen will be calling in again one more time from Ramo de Olivo to talk about Wine Down Wednesday and red wine and Chenin Blanc. So the rest of the day today, well, I think I've missed the chance to talk about the 24 best ramen shops in America. So we'll talk about that during the next segment. That is the super salad course. So, of course, that's appropriate. During the main course, we're going to talk about bizarre foods from Japan. What? Japan has bizarre foods? Oh, yeah. And we're not just talking blowfish and natto. And what is natto? Well, I'll tell you what natto is and how not to eat natto in just a few minutes. But there are some really, really bizarre foods, including some foods which are actually liquid. Believe it or not, they're drinkable, but they're savory. All right. And this isn't just for toothless Uncle Joe or Jim or Alec or Johnny or Bobby. This is for everyday use, grab and go savory food for the everyday working person. All right, so stay tuned. Chef Patrick Mosher, the Food Biz Pro. We'll be right back in about 2 minutes, so don't go anywhere, because if you don't listen, you'll starve.
Follow Chef Patrick Mosher on Twitter @FoodBizPro.
Why have thousands of aspiring authors teamed up with Christian Faith Publishing to publish their book? Because Christian Faith Publishing is an author-friendly publisher who understands that your labor is more than just a book. We provide authors freedom and flexibility throughout the publishing process, professional book editing, award-winning design, and some of the highest royalty structures in the publishing industry. And as always, you will retain 100% of the rights to your book.
I was looking to find a company that I could trust, one that assisted in the editing process completely.
The most important qualities that I was looking for was a publisher who was honest and upfront, no hidden costs or fees, and owning the rights to my own work.
Christian Faith Publishing will publish, market, and sell your books in all major bookstores, online booksellers, as well as specialty Christian bookstores. Call for your free author submission kit.
800-978-4812. 800-978-4812. 800-978-4812. That's 800-978-4812.
Never Forgotten Apparel is more than just a premium women's and men's clothing line. It's a movement to remind us to wear American-made and serve those who serve us. Our heroes. Never Forgotten Apparel gives 20% of their total sales to nonprofits that support homeless veterans and off-duty firefighters, and 50% to individual veterans and firefighters in need nationwide. Check out neverforgottenapparel.com and get 15% off your purchase.
Are you tired of high cable TV rates? Sign up for Dish today and get a $500 bonus offer while supplies last. Plus, lock in your price for 2 years guaranteed. Call All American Dish, your Dish authorized retailer now.
800-570-6630. 800-570-6630. That's 800-570-6630. Offers require credit qualification, 24-month commitment, early termination fee, and e-auto pay. Restrictions apply. Call for details.
Dun, 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 dun. You know, I don't know how Ron picked this music, but I really like it. You know, nothing bad for unlicensed music. I love it. So, all right. So, before we go on to the top 24 ramen shops, because I haven't talked about bizarre food stories in a while, there is one that I came across a while back in May, and I never did cover it. It's, you know, look, you get caught trying to bring a vegetable back from a foreign country or to take something to a foreign country. You got carrots in your bag, they take them out, right? You got, I don't know, a bunch of grapes, they take them out. You have anything, any sort of produce or anything like that. Now, I saw this story and I was like, what the hell was this guy thinking? But apparently back in May, this is a world famous chef. This is a guy from, he is from Peru. And he was actually featured in one of my very, very favorite shows, Chef's Table on Netflix. It's one of my very favorite shows ever. And if you've never seen it, check out the one with Nancy Silverton, which I think was in 2017. But what a great series. And the very first episode ever with Massimo Bottura, who I believe is the best chef in the world. Just an amazing human being, besides being a great chef. What an artist. But I'm just going to read the article for you. It's not that long, and it's very interesting. But apparently, a world-famous chef was stopped as he brought 40 piranhas through LAX. Yes, folks, that says 40. Public service announcement. This is actually a literal PSA. Customs officers do not like it when you try to bring a duffel bag full of 40 vacuum-sealed frozen piranhas into Los Angeles. Just note to self. So, Virgilio Martinez, chef-owner of Central restaurant in Peru, which is spelled Central, who was featured in the third season of Netflix's Chef's Table, Learned this lesson the hard way. Really? Really. The chef landed at LAX this past week to cook dinners at Spoony, which is actually a very good restaurant, and at Vespertine as part of the Los Angeles Times month-long food festival called the Food Bowl. In his luggage when he landed were 40 piranhas. I was extremely obsessed about bringing piranhas because we serve piranhas in the Amazon as Central. So I said, guys, why not take a risk to bring piranhas to LA? Okay, first, you never admit that you took the risk. And you did. Hey, guys, I'm admitting that I said, let's take the risk of taking piranhas to LA. Just say, I didn't know. Oh, my gosh. Come on, dude. You didn't know. I brought them. I didn't know I couldn't serve them. I just brought them. I didn't think I'd get them in the U.S. I just brought frozen piranhas in a suitcase. It's okay. So I said, guys, why not take a risk to bring piranhas to L.A.? You probably have to have and he goes, Martinez said, you probably have preconceived notions about piranhas because of movies. But for me, piranhas, we go fish for them. So when the chef was going through customs, officers opened his bag and they went into a panic, Martinez said. What's inside? Asked one officer. Bones, responded Martinez with a laugh. Flesh. Yeah, not funny. Not very funny. You ever met a customs officer? They have zero sense of humor. I don't care what country and what language you say that in. There is zero sense of humor. Zero sense of humor for customs officer. Just that's another PSA. His attempt at humor landed him in a private interrogation room where he was questioned by additional officers. Why are you bringing piranhas? I'm doing a special dinner with a friend who I really respect, and I'm going to do a dish I really enjoy doing, Martinez says he told them. And so it went for a total of 5 hours before Martinez was able to convince the officer that he was there to do something strange, but ultimately benign. I told him that it was from my heart and showed him a few photos, Martinez said. I took my book and said, look, this is what I want to do with the piranhas. And he finally said, oh, wow, go ahead. Go ahead! So he brought a band fishing in the United States and they let him do it. That's actually kind of cool. See, I thought there was going to be an unhappy ending here. But no, this is America. Happy ending. For Martinez, carrying that bag out of LAX was more than worth the hassle. Because of the airport ordeal, he wasn't able to dine at Vespertine, but he was able to use the meat from the piranhas to make a salad while cooking at the restaurant the following evening. And at Spoony, he dried the piranha skins and served them in piranha heads. Ooh, dried piranha skins and piranha heads. Actually, the presentation is very beautiful. I bet most people here have never tried piranha, Martinez says. I told the people at Spoony dinner that I spent 5 hours for you, so you better enjoy it. You spent more than 5 hours. You spent a long time trying to get that here. You had to catch them, freeze them, plot how to get them here, and then plead your case for 5 hours. So, interesting. So there was a whole full lineup of fantastic chefs from around the world that came in to participate in Food Bowl in LA. And for more information and for a schedule of events, please visit LA. That's the letters L, the letter A, foodbowl.com. The event is now over, I believe, but you can check it out and see. Okay, 2 words. Dip as in dipping sauce and scheisse as in shit. Really? How did he get away with convincing them to bring a banned animal protein in the United States? Man, I got to learn from this guy. All right. See, Chef Patrick Mosher would never have gotten away with that. You know why? Because, I don't know. I wanted to do the dinner. I threw him in the bag. I brought him here. I don't know. I didn't know it was banned. I didn't know. I was drinking off Ossifer. I didn't know what I was thinking. I was drinking. Ooh, that's another one. I don't know what I was thinking. I was drinking. Hashtag, I don't know. I'm going to coin this one. Hashtag, I don't know what I was thinking. I was drinking. Yeah, that belongs to me, folks. Sorry. Too sad. So, too bad, so sad. It's mine. All right. What in the hell was he thinking? But he got away with it. Good for him. I think. I'd still be in jail. Yep. That is not an oh woe is me statement. That's just if it weren't for bad luck, I've had no luck at all. Yeah, you know the song, right? Remember that? By the way, Richard Brandt is he's online and listening. And let's see. He said, I'm in watching position, bouncing back and forth between here and audio only, of course. Okay, Richard, I need you to do me a favor. I know you have my direct line, so please text me your address so I can mail that that swag out to you, which is supposed to just be a T-shirt. Now it's a T-shirt, a hat, and the spices from Brandon's show a couple weeks ago. All right? Yep, you get the whole kit and caboodle. Ooh, watch this video with NWA Chefs Collect. Yes, start a watch party. No. Nope. Yeah, you know what? Why not? All right, my watch party's about to begin. Yay! But you know what? Now I've lost my comments. See, now I can't see my comments. I got to go back a page and leave the watch party. I'm going to leave this watch party because I want to go back. I got to see your comments, right? Summy, so Summy said, because he won the ice cream contest, right? So we went over to Stone Cold Creamery, Cold Stone Creamery, and he got a little quart of the peanut butter chocolate ice cream, and he said, I talked about tell us what your favorite red wine is. Someone will be the winner, and why you like it so much. He goes, I'm not the least bit an alky, so don't make me the winner of this too. To which I replied, I said, it's never too late to start, Summy. LOL. Just kidding. Parentheses, but it does save me on the shipping since he's local. Let's see what else we got here. Richard Brandt. Weird food in Japan? Someone had spilled these little sticky fish of some sort in my room in the Yokohama Holiday Inn. I kept finding them stuck to my socks, though I never found their source. You know, those are called tile fish. They live in the ceiling tiles, and as they birth their babies, these little fish drop when you're sleeping. They fall all over the carpet, and then they stick to your fish, or to your socks, etc. That sounds like something that would happen to me. Summy, I'll deliver it if someone else in DFW wins. That's as close as I will get. Okay, fair enough. And somebody got hacked. Uh-oh. Sterling Smith. Oh, Patrick Mosher, it's you. It's you. Video. Is this you in the video? Blah, 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 blah. 82,013 views. No, that is not me. I don't have a video with that picture of me. And no, somebody hacked your account. Sterling Smith, somebody hacked you. Sorry. Let's see. Dustin Cuddle. Can't say I have a favorite red as my tongue and tan. I can't say I have a favorite red as my tongue and tannins or anything bitter. Even bottled water don't get along. Local winery has some stuff that is drinkable. Brandon Retke, Cab Franc holds oak really well. That's true. Good wine. Travis Watkins, rarely drink wine, so my favorite will have to be a beer. Perhaps a good sour because I want one right now. Ooh, I love sours. Yummy. We'll get into that later. Okay, real quick or real slowly. We're going to go through the best 24 ramen shops in the United States, and they're all for various reasons. And look, these ramen shops do not necessarily, this is not necessarily the budget-friendly, way for college students to eat. Because I'll tell you, I go to a place in Austin, been there a few times. It's a great ramen shop, Tetsuya ramen shop. It's, like $15 a bowl. It's not inexpensive, and it's really damn good. But, they're all over the United States now, from D.C. to L.A. to Miami to Austin, Texas to Minnesota, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Oregon, Washington. I mean, they're all over in large metropolitan places as well as small. And so let's see what the best ones in America are. All right. The first is Agu Ramen. That's A-G-U. Agu Ramen in Honolulu, Hawaii. It says with more than 15 varieties. Oh, and by the way, Hawaii is one of the hotbeds of Japanese food. It's kind of a halfway point for the traveler from Japan. And so a lot of Japanese travelers that are on vacation don't come all the way to the mainland U.S. They go to Hawaii. And tons of Japanese food there. Rock and Roll Sushi. I don't know if it's still there, but what a great sushi bar right there in Honolulu. My buddy Miles Uehara. Miles of Kappa Sushi in northern San Diego County, one of the best sushi bars in all of Southern California. You got to go check him out. Miles Uehara, he was my kind of not an apprentice. He was kind of an apprentice. I mean, I taught him how to do the basics, and then he just surpassed me. So he's a badass, just not in the sushi bar, but in the kitchen as well. So with more than 15 varieties, and his family actually owns Aloha Tofu, which is an amazing company based in Pearl City, Hawaii. So if you're ever out in Hawaii, please go to your local grocery store and patron them as well. Great guy, great family, amazing family. So with more than 15 varieties and spice levels ranging from 1 to 5. Okay, wait. With more than 15 varieties and spice levels ranging from 1 to 5, Hisashi Uehara. I didn't even know that's not spelled the same though. Hisashi Uehara's high-end ramen bistro makes it difficult for you to pick your favorite. If you're looking for a clean, light broth with just a hint of spice, try the shoyu-based or soy-based yuzu jidori. Ooh, yuzu. That's got a little Japanese yuzu citrus in there. Made with a refreshing chicken broth. Or the other end of the flavor spectrum, or on the other end. See, I'm wearing contacts today, so it's a little hard to read because they're just not as good as my glasses. On the other end of the flavor spectrum, go for the innovative hot mess. Ha ha! What are you going to have today? I'm going to have a hot mess for lunch. Nice. A wild and rich explosion of black garlic oil and garlic butter broth with savory Parmesan cheese made with the spot's famous slow-boiled pork broth. When choosing your spice level, think conservatively. The spice scale is incredibly generous, and by incredibly generous, we mean eye-tearing, sinus-clearing, call your mama and tell her you love her spicy. You've been forewarned. Or, order it on the side. That's probably the way to go. Man, that looks delicious. I'm so hungry right now. Daikaya in Washington, D.C. Not TCDC. I'm not even drinking today. I'm slurring. Man, I've been to this one, actually, and it's one of the best ramen shops I've been to in the U.S. So the name Daikaya translates directly to House of Big Cooking Pot. That's right. Daikaya. And, yeah, that pretty much sums up the vibe of this D.C. joint. It has zero frills, man. This is it looks like a low budget place. It's super simple. They have 40 seats inside. It's kind of barren, stark, and dark, but who the hell cares? Because their food is really good. So if you're there for the food, then you'll find it. The head chef is Katsuya Fukushima, and he brings fresh, chewy wheat noodles, which, man, they're awesome. So these wheat noodles, they're typically made from buckwheat. They're a little denser than the typical white flour ramen, right? And their broth, oh my God, the broth it's light. It's got beef, pork, chicken bone, and man, it's so different from that heavier. That miso broth, right? That super rich, creamy. Heavy broth that everybody has. This separates it from almost every other ramen shop. It's really clean, light, ultra flavorful. But it's hard to even get in this place. So if you're there, check it out. It's Daikaya in Washington, D.C. And this is something that it doesn't matter which side of the aisle you sit on. Both parties, you're going to love this. It's awesome. So get there quick. Daikokuya in Los Angeles. This is it's been around for like a decade, probably 10 or 11 years. And this is one of the first really the ramen shops to really hit the scene hard in LA. So it's really hard to get in. It's a lot like Tatsuya in Austin. So you better hurry the hell up and get there. It's not one of those trendy new shops to serve up the tonkatsu du jour. Although that's what everybody's looking for. It's really good. It's like one of the OG. It's like the OG of the ramen in LA, right? It's been there for a long time. It's not a flash in the pan place. So why? They have this really light and fluffy tonkatsu. If you ever had tonkatsu, it's a pork cutlet, like it's not like the inexpensive pork loin. It's this one, they make it from the pork tenderloin. They pound it really thin, bread it, and then they have this really vegan. It's this really light sesame and tomato broth that's unbelievable. It's actually vegan pleasing, by the way. It's that good. I don't care if you're vegan or not. Try that broth. They've expanded. They have other places besides downtown LA in the Little Tokyo area, but I check them out. I think that they have 4 or 5 locations now. It's called Daikokuya, Daikokuya. Check it out. Their broth, that one broth alone is probably worth the visit. I don't care. Again, if you're vegan or not, it's worth it. And they have all the other broths as well. Ippudo, Ippudo in New York, New York. Yes. My self-proclaimed hometown. Now, Ippudo has been around for a while. It's not brand new. They have 3 shops in New York City. They're also famous for their tonkatsu. But on the other end of the light broth, right, this light broth scale like Daikaya in Washington, D.C., they have this uber, ultra-rich, amazing, but still flavorful, and the flavors are identifiable. It's this almost emulsion of pork and pork fat in the broth, in their shoyu broth. It's unbelievable. They have homemade noodles. They have pork chashu, mushrooms, garlic oil, and they have this secret miso paste that they actually concoct themselves. But I'm telling you what, the homemade noodles put them over the top. Ippudo, it's Ippudo, one of my favorites. That's probably my favorite ramen shop in the United States. They've been around in Tokyo since 1985. They came on the scene in New York in 2008. If you get the chance to go there, check it out. They have 3 locations, and they're all in New York City. Unbelievable. One of my favorite. And they say, they're a very traditional Japanese place, right? So when you walk in, they go, "Irashaimase." Everybody just kind of yells it at the same time when you walk into a sushi bar that's Japanese owned. What it actually means is welcome. Irashaimase. It means please come in. Please, welcome. Come sit down. All right. Izakaya Sozai in San Francisco. They're pretty good. This was from 2018, though. So actually, Men's Show sorry to tell you guys this, Men's Show in San Francisco. They have a Men's Show in San Francisco, Men's Show in Bangkok, Thailand, Men's Show Tokyo, and Men's Show Chef. So it's Tomoharu Shono is his name, right? My consulting group is doing a little work with him. He's the chef, the executive chef there. He actually earned, their stuff is so good. How good is it? It's so good. He actually earned a Michelin star for his Tokyo-based operation. That's how good it is. I'm telling you what. Izakaya Sosai, okay, you're good, blah, blah, blah. But nope, you got to go there. I got to kick that one off the list. All right, so if you're way up, again, that is Men's Show, MENSHO, Men's Show Ramen Shop. Tokyo, San Francisco, and Bangkok, Thailand. No, really, that good. Really that good. All right, Johnny Noodle King in Detroit, Michigan. Yep, ramen's hit Detroit even. Johnny Noodle King's one of the best. They do the typical shoyu and miso broths, but they also do some stuff that most ramen shops don't do, and those are some seafood variations, right? They do like some really cool stuff. They do pickled tomatillo, Southwest, and tomato broth minestrone. They have some bonus points for this one. They have some tableside torched mackerel and fried bacon rice, as well as duck confit yakisoba. Yakisoba is like a stir-fried noodle dish in Japan, and this like it's an ultra chefy Japanese upscale yet kind of innovative ramen shop that has more to offer than just ramen, which is why I like it. I'm telling you, duck confit is my favorite single bite of food by far, no matter what. Duck confit. That's duck thigh and leg, basically slow simmered in the oven in duck fat. I mean, it cooks at first you cure it. Take curing salts, right? Nitrates. You cure it. Press them, get all the liquid out, get as much moisture out as you can. That's like a 24-hour to 2-day process. Then once that's done, you rinse them, and then you slowly cook it in that duck fat, liquid duck fat, in the oven, like 12 hours. Take it out, let it cool to room temperature. Put it in the the walk-in refrigerator, let that recongeal, cool down, and let that all harden back up again. Then you dig through the duck fat, pull the legs out, and then you throw that in a 400 to 450 degree oven, and then you let it crisp up. Now, that in itself is rich and ultra savory. Add that to yakisoba. Yakisoba. Soba noodles are the big, thick Japanese noodles that are really hard to even like slurp up when you try to suck a noodle in your mouth. They're like, they're so heavy that if you do that and you do it right, it'll like slap your eye. And you're like, oh, my eye, I can't see. That's how heavy those noodles are. So you typically end up trying to, just chew them up into your mouth off of the chopsticks, or just use a fork and spool it up, but it's one noodle at a time. They're so freaking fat. They're like a half an inch to 3/4 of an inch across. One of my favorite noodles, a very chewy rice flour noodle. Okay, so think of that stir-fried, right? Stir-fried with this kind of tonkatsu sauce. Tonkatsu sauce is that kind of dark brown, rich sauce that you get if you've ever had a Japanese pork cutlet over rice or anything like that. It's kind of like A1. A1 meets brown gravy. Oh my God, it's delicious, right? So that tonkatsu sauce is put in, and that's stir fried with this duck confit. All right, I'm gonna guess. I've had this dish once, okay, but I believe there's like a shiitake mushroom, right? Green onion. What else is in there? There's bean sprout in it. There's a couple other vegetables I'm missing, but all that stir fried and that richness of the duck rendering back out into that particular dish and making the oils just a little slick from the oil, the tonkatsu sauce, adding that richness and kind of depth of flavor. My God, I need a bib. I need something. I need a drill-proof bib, not just a spill-proof sippy cup. So, Melissa Sippy, if you can find that, that'd be awesome. Oh my gosh, now I got to go to Detroit to Johnny Noodle King. Yeah, I do. If anybody up there if anybody listening is near Detroit, if you feel like shipping something down, feel free. Just tell them to assemble it. Separate the sauces, the ingredients. They can cook the ingredients if they want to, but it just needs to be cold. Ship it down here cold, and I will cook it live on the air somehow, some way, without starting a fire in here nor setting off the fire alarms. Because where there's a will, there's a way. All right. If you're down in Nolo, New Orleans, Louisiana, there is Keene. Keene means gold, right? It's like an ultra fashionable hot cuisine version of the noodle world, but I'm not going to go through that. Yeah, it's okay. It's kind of like if you had to find the ramen equivalent of George Clooney sipping Nespresso in a Tom Ford suit, it'd probably be, it'd be there, and he'd be having the Huxtable. It's a lemongrass pork shoulder confit and miso garlic buttered corn in a chicken and pork double soup. Yeah. The cool thing is they have a very small menu which changes a lot. So if you ever travel through New Orleans, check it out. It's one reason to go there on a regular occasion, but it's fancy. Men's Show, San Francisco, California. I already told you about that, but San Francisco, they opened their place in 2015. It's awesome because I'm telling you, that Michelin star blew that place up, and trying to fly to Japan and having a bowl there and then fly back, that's a long flight. San Francisco is almost manageable, but I'm telling you what, absolutely check it out. If you go to San Francisco, and it's not too bad actually. It's you get I think it's about $16. You can add extra stuff like duck confit or roast duck and other char siu pork and things like that to the dish. If you don't, I mentioned char siu pork, right? Char siu pork is if you don't know what that is, it's that Chinese red pork. Basically, it's pork loin, right, or pork tenderloin, cut into strips, kind of rectangular strips, and it's marinated in this slightly sweet. It's kind of like the base for sweet and sour sauce, but it's more of a traditional spice blend. It's got Chinese spice in it, and some other sweet. It's got vinegar and some sugars, brown sugar and other, and it's got a little bit of red dye in it. So when you get that pork, it's been seared and then roasted in the oven. It's got that red ring around it. It's basically barbecued pork. Is barbecued Chinese pork is what they call it. But Those are one of the add-ons that they have. Oh man, Menchie's ramen, Mencho's ramen is just the best. Their most famous bowl, I think their signature dish is called tori, T-O-R-I, Paitan. It's P-A-I-T-A-N. The broth is it's like they boil chicken bones for 3 days, 72 hours, and it's topped with it's got and then it gets pork, duck char siu, right? And then a couple of other vegetables. But again, that bowl is $16. $16 for what I think is probably top 5 ramen I've ever had, maybe top 2. It's unbelievable. Momi Ramen in Miami, Florida. If you're in the South, let's see, Nakamura in New York, or Nakamura. Nakamura's been around for a while. There's these stunt foods, right? Stunt foods are trick, eye-catching, phenomenally entertaining foods that you watch be made, and most of them come and go, right? But this one's been around for centuries, right? Torigara, the Torigara ramen at Nakamura. It's a tiny, tiny ramen shop right in New York City. And Nakamura, you should, it's in the Lower East Side, by the way. They have a recipe which has been around for a really long time. The dish in question, it's got a clear and not fatty chicken. Time up! They use this clear broth I got to talk to you about in just a minute. Stay tuned. Again, we're at the top of the hour. We've got a 4-minute break. We'll finish up this list, talk about some bizarre foods in Japan, and then it's Wind Down Wednesday. We'll be right back.
This is the only 24-hour take-anywhere platform dedicated to food and fun. We're Spoony.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. At age 74, Georgia Republican Senator Johnny Isakson says health problems will force him to retire at the end of the year. Bob Agnew reports.
Isakson says it was only after much prayer and consultation with doctors and family that he made a decision that pains him deeply, stepping away from his Senate seat mid-term. A battle with Parkinson's and physical therapy for a fall in July have been taking their toll, along with a procedure on Monday to remove a cancerous growth from one of his kidneys. Isakson's departure should have no impact on the Republicans' battle to hold their majority in 2020. Georgia's GOP Governor Brian Kemp expected to appoint another Republican to serve through 2022 when Isakson's term expires. Bob Agnew reporting.
National Weather Service meteorologist Jose Alamo says Hurricane Dorian is expected to pass over or near western and central Puerto Rico with landslides, widespread flooding, and power outages possible.
Impact from beginning to end, probably we're looking from early this morning till very early Thursday morning. A few of the outer bands or a tail of moisture associated with it may linger a little bit longer into Thursday afternoon.
Dorian just upgraded to a hurricane. Forecasters say it could develop into a Category 3 hurricane by the time it reaches the U.S. mainland. Also at townhall.com, Ohio Governor Mike DeWine has announced plans to enhance the state and federal background check systems to better protect law enforcement and the public and increase arrests of wanted offenders. He says only about half of criminals' warrants get entered into the state's database.
When critical information is missing, bad things happen.
Ohio Governor Mike DeWine. Stocks mostly higher as gains in healthcare and other sectors outweigh losses in technology companies. The Dow had 202 points, the NASDAQ up 23. More on these stories at townhall.com.
The following. Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395, 800-709-4395, 800-709-4395, 800-709-4395. If you are trying to quit drinking or doing too many drugs, listen to me. You don't know me and we'll never meet. I had a problem like you once. I drank and used to party a little too much till it got out of control and almost ruined my life. I realized I needed help to fix my problem before it totally destroyed me. If you've tried to fix your drinking and drug problem and you know you can't do it alone, you need to call the National Treatment Advisors. They'll immerse you into a 30-day program to replace your old habits with new habits and totally change your life. And if you have PPO private health insurance, the entire program may be covered. Fix your problem right now before it gets any worse. Get clean. Call now and learn more. 800-296-1252. 800-296-1252. 800-296-1252. 800-296-1252.
Now you can fly anywhere in the world and pay discount prices on your airline tickets. Book a flight today to London, Paris, Madrid, or anywhere else you want to go and pay a lot less guaranteed. Call the International Travel Department right now at Low Cost Airlines.
800-452-1075. 800-452-1075. That's 800-452-1075.
And we're back. Yep, we're back. Okay, that video is live now, today, 1:04 p.m., blah, 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 blah. All right, well, that video is live now. So there are two video feeds right now. I think it's because I actually started a watch party, but I don't know where that watch party went to. Hello, everybody. Hello, over Nick Rickman. Oh, Nick Rickman. Hey, Nick Rickman, by the way, I have not done a lot to mention the WFC's The Final Table. I shared a couple of articles, but Nick, congratulations, man, for finishing overall number 2. We're going to talk about that a little bit. I am going to cut the ramen conversation short for a few. We'll get through a little bit of that chat, and then we're going to let that go. And I'm going to I'm going to talk about that a bit. So let's get back real quick to the ramen. All right, because I really want to talk about the bizarre foods of Japan, and merge all one. Okay, there we go. So, and we are the best ramen restaurants. All right, we had Nakamura in New York. All right, we're about halfway through the list, folks. Not quite, but again, they have this Nakamura in New York. It's a tiny little place on the Lower East Side, and they have this. This dish, it's got a different broth than almost anybody else I've had. It's a really light, what's called clear broth, not fatty. It's a chicken broth, and it's based on a recipe that's more than 100 years old. So the owner, Shigetoshi Nakamura, he's been making the ramen for about 20 years, tops each bowl with simple toppings like pork chashu, pickled bamboo shoots, and a handful of spinach. Each bowl is chicken soup for your ramen-loving soul, minus the inspirational stories and plus some really good noodles. We'll go through the rest real quick. There's Nora Neko in Portland, Oregon. There is Oink in Seattle, Washington. That's O-O-I-N-K, Oink. There's Raki Raki Ramen and Tsukemen in San Diego, California. That's actually pretty good. Raki Raki Ramen. There's Ramen House Shinchan in Palatine in Illinois. That's the northwest suburbs, by the way. I have not eaten there, but I have actually seen it. So I'm going to have to check that place out. Palatine, I know Palatine pretty well. Ramen Shop, Oakland, California. Ramen Tatsuya in Austin, Texas. Also now in Houston, by the way. I'm telling you what. Their pork broth goes for about 60 hours. 60 hours. And you're not really supposed to drink their broth when you eat ramen, but you can't help have that one. You really can't. And it's got a soft-boiled egg. It's got Whittier mushroom scallions, charred chashu, which is it's a marinated braised pork belly. They have actually chashu is not pork belly originally, but well, I guess it could be. It doesn't really matter. It's pork. They have tonkatsu is it's about an hour wait to get in sometimes, but their tonkatsu is this really typically tonkatsu would be a fried cutlet, but they do instead it's like a rolled pork belly, and they slice it really like a nice thin slice and put it on there. Yum. Awesome stuff, man. Awesome. And you can add, they have chili bombs. There's these bombs that side additions that you can have. And they have these fiery chili bombs that, oh my gosh. Yeah, they have a good selection of cold beers in case you decide to order that. So that's Ramen Tatsuya. It's under Highway 183, just above the city of Austin proper on your way headed north. So right about where 290 comes in out of the east, if you know the area at all. Red Light Ramen in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Ruckus in Boston, Massachusetts. And, their Ruckus is, it's kind of it kind of evokes a thought of the Wu-Tang Clan, you know. It's a pretty cool place to go. And they have this shoryukan, which is the first ramen on the menu. It's definitely worth going for. It's more than clever branding. It's cool stuff. Strings Ramen in Chicago, Illinois. I've heard of that. Never been there. Great reviews, by the way. It's near I think it's at their Chinatown is where that is. Terakawa in Philly. Toto in New York. That's Totto, not Toto the dog. Let's see. You've got Tsujita Annex in LA, California. That's been away for a long time. It's in a back alley. It's been there forever. Uncle in Denver, Colorado. Uni Deli in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And that'll wrap up our list for the day. All right, real quick. We're going to go through the bizarre foods. But before we get there, I want to go real quick to the World Food Championships Facebook page here. So, World Food Championships. There we go. I want to go through. They had the most amazing 2018-2019 season for the World Food Championships. If you don't know what that is, I've talked about it on the air real quick. You know, I think they had about 500 chef home cook competitors that went down to Orange, Alabama last year. They all competed to crown 10 champions in 10 different categories. Then they all competed 6 months later, right? The final table. There it is. It's pretty amazing. 10 finalists, 2 days worth of challenges. They narrowed the finalists down to 5 after the first challenge. After that, they narrowed it down to 3, and then those 3 competed. They battled it out to crown the world champion. And I'll tell you, it was quite a big deal. And the winner got not just $100,000, but they actually got a dish placed on the menu at Antoine's, which had not added a dish to their menu in over 100 years, right? And so, I just want to say congratulations to a couple of people. They all did really well. Obviously, I just said, Nick Rickman, you did great, man, finishing second. Congratulations to you. But the grand winner, right, is Jackie Seavey. She's the executive sous chef at Island View Casino Resort in Gulfport, Mississippi, and she beat out all the other 9. And if you missed it, it was on the 24th, this last weekend. It was 6 p.m. It aired on CNBC. It was a 2-part special. It was that evening and then the next morning. And Jackie Seavey, congratulations to you for winning the $100,000 and the grand prize. What a great showing for everybody. And if you missed it, there are some links. Go to the World Food Championships on Facebook. It's World Food Championships. It's at World Food Championships with an S on the end. And look at the watch the 2-part series and check it out. I mean, what a great competition. Nick Rickman, congratulations, man. That's a tough thing, finishing not just number 1 in your category, but then also against those other 9 chefs, finishing in the top 2. And I'll talk about it a little bit more over the rest of the week. I'm going to be doing some interesting stuff Sean, yes, I know there were 2 feeds. Sorry about that. He goes, I couldn't figure out why I couldn't see my comments. Sean Sheeler, good afternoon. Nick Rickman, hello. Which number are we on now? I don't know, Summy. I don't know what number of the 24 we were on, but we're done with that. So, I want to talk about bizarre foods in Japan. I posted the article. If you haven't seen it, go to Spoony Radio's Facebook page, and there are some bizarre foods in Japan. And I'm going to get to the most bizarre at the end, right? So 20 questionable Japanese foods only daring eaters would try. I don't know about that. Drunk eaters as well. One is unagi. Unagi, those of you that eat sushi in the United States, it's a very popular dish here. Unagi is basically a barbecued freshwater eel. There are 2 types of eel that they eat in Japan. One is freshwater eel, and one is saltwater eel. Saltwater eel is called unagi and anago. Anago is saltwater eel, anago. It has a gray skin. That's actually, it's a gray, very mild tasting, very thin with skin with a very slight fatty layer under it. And that's not as popular in the United States. It's very difficult to make. It's typically made from scratch here. But unagi, which is freshwater eel, it actually typically comes from Korea now. That's the popular one here. It's not really that big of a deal. It's kind of barbecued, right? You've seen it. It's the brown stuff that they serve on the pressed pieces of sushi. They brush it with unagi sauce. It's basically a version of what we would think is teriyaki sauce, which it's not. But they condense down the broth that these eel are cooked in, and then they add soy sauce, sugar, and some other things. They reduce it in this a Japanese sweetened rice wine, and then they reduce it down to the perfect thickness. And then they save a little bit of that and they add it back into each one. But I'm telling you, it's an amazing pop of flavor in the mouth. So check it out. Unagi, right? Freshwater eel. Don't let the eel fool you. So beef tongue, not so bizarre. I mean, it's eaten all around the world. And typically in Japan, though, it's typically used yakiniku. Yakiniku is like a Korean barbecue where you have a grill in the center of the table, and then they bring out a series of raw meats and vegetables and some marinated meats. Well, they're all marinated in something with dipping sauces on the side. And then you cook your own stuff, and you just you take it off a couple pieces at a time, and you dip it in the sauce, and you burn your tongue because it's steaming hot. The cool thing about beef tongue is it's really fatty. It's really tender. And so there's one of 2 ways to cook it. Slice it uber thin and then grill it and eat it. Or you have to boil the entire tongue forever and ever and ever until it gets soft and tender enough to eat. And then you slice it very thin, and it's delicious. So it's really delicious. It really became popular in Japan. It's called gyutang, which is beef tongue. Gyu is Japanese for beef. There's a chef in Sendai City, and he started using it in one of his restaurants. It really became popular throughout Japan, and almost every single yakiniku place has it on the menu today. They don't do the boiled, sliced version unless it's a Jewish deli in Japan, which is pretty much how we have it here. All right. Takoyaki. All right. Takoyaki literally means octopus grill or grilled octopus. But you can better say it in English as octopus balls. It's really what it's called. No, it is not the huevos, the gonads of an octopus, but rather cooked octopus cut into small bite-sized pieces, little squares, little bite-sized pieces. And then they are kind of, there's this very special contraption, right, that they cook these little round, puffed up, pancake batter-like, delectable, bite-size, unbelievable, tasty snacks. So what they do is they put some of the batter in this little round, like it's a half of a globe. It's kind of like a muffin pan, but instead of a square, a straight-sided, flat-bottomed muffin, you're thinking you're going to make round muffins one half at a time. You're going to make the first half, then flip it, right? So what you do is you put a little of this batter in. You drop one little piece of the taco, which is the cooked octopus, and you put a little more batter on top, and it kind of puffs around it. When it's brown on one side, you turn it over, and the other side cooks up, and it creates this little ball of puffy, octopus greatness. Yes, I'm serious. This is one of my favorite foods in Japan. It's probably Japan's favorite snack food. And the cool thing about it is every city has a different way of making this. In Osaka, it's kind of garlicky, right? It's unbelievable. And what they do is if you go to Spoony Radio's Facebook page and you look at this, I've put this article up. Click on the link and you'll see it's takoyaki. They're like this wheat flour pancake batter, fluffy ball of tasty goodness. What's good about it though is they take 3 sauces on the top, or 2 at least. They have this kind of sweet teriyaki, yakisoba, this tonkatsu sauce mix that they put on top with a little bit of mayonnaise, and then they put katsuoboshi. Katsuoboshi are those little tiny fish flakes. It's basically dried bonito tuna that's shaved paper thin. I mean, almost it's thinner than paper, and then they put that on there, and some of the chopped up what do you call it? The nori paper. It's called laver. It's basically a seaweed that's harvested, dried. It's pressed out and rolled into sheets that they use for sushi. That's really finely julienne and sprinkled on top, and then maybe some sesame seeds. It is unbelievable. If you don't like this, there's something wrong with you. You don't know it's octopus. It doesn't taste fishy. It is unbelievable. And you eat it with a toothpick of all things. And it's super hot. It burns the hell out of your mouth. If you've ever read manga, you see Japanese people eating this snack food all the time. It's a little bite-sized thing they just pop in their mouth. That is what this is. And manga are the Japanese the comic books, right? And I know now they have animated manga and stuff like that, but that's what that is. It's a little Japanese comic book. And it's takoyaki. It literally means, taco balls, octopus balls. Yep, that's what you call them. They're unbelievable. I don't care what you say. Shut the hell up and try it. I don't care if you don't like fish. You've never had octopus. It's too chewy. No, it's not. You got to try it. And these were actually, they come from Osaka, by the way. And it was created by a street vendor named Tomekechi Endo, right, in Osaka. And it's so it's no surprise that in Dotonbori, which is a really cool area of Osaka, it's like an outdoor walking mall with a cover, right? It's a very narrow street mall, outdoor mall, that's just shop after shop after shop after shop of these little vendor stalls and they're small stores that are about as wide as a Spoony studio, so maybe 10 feet and maybe 10 feet to 15 feet deep. I'm telling you, dozens of those in that walking area are just takoyaki. And you can smell it when you walk through there. In the wintertime, it's one of my favorites. So you got to check it out. These vendors are really quick. In a minute, they can make hundreds of them. They have this little thing. They just squirt the batter in, and then they drop the octopus in there, and then put a tiny bit more batter in, and then they just turn it over, and it's so quick. It's unbelievable, and it's cheap. And yes, octopus balls, folks. Octopus balls. It's all about the octopus balls in Japan. All right, so I won't get to comments until I get to the end of this really quick, okay? So I gotta rush through because only number 17. Basashi. All right, this is a bit of a bizarre food, and I will confess to have eaten horse meat in Japan. I didn't know it was horse meat, guys and gents, or ladies rather. It came from China. It was jerky. It was a dried jerky style. I thought it was beef until after I learned that later that night, I learned the Japanese character for horse. I'm very sorry. But basashi, it's not just that it's horse meat. And yes, I've had this too, and I'm almost ashamed to say it. But look, I love horses. I don't want horses. So I don't see horses as pets. Okay, they're a utility animal. When they get old, what do you do with them? You send them off to the horse factory and they make glue from them, right? Well, what they do there is when they get old, they don't have a lot of horses in Japan, so this all comes from China. But basashi is almost always served as sashimi. And it's also known as, because of its coloration, it's called as sakura niku, cherry blossom meat. Yep. Sakura. I'm not singing for you. There's an old song called Sakura, right? Cherry blossom meat because of its pink color. It's only served in a few restaurants. It's very rarely served anymore since the Second World War. But it actually came about because of after the Second World War, they turned to eating horses as a source of protein because they really don't have lots and lots of cattle or anything like that in Japan. So they never have. And anyway, look, even there are a lot of European countries that eat horse, so don't vilify the Japanese. Mexico, they eat horse. All over Asia proper. So anyway, we're going to get off that note. All right, manju. This is a dessert, right? It's typically like a buckwheat and pastry, kind of a cake. And it's almost always filled with anko. Anko is a red bean paste. I almost said unko, which means poop in Japanese, but I said anko correctly. They're different shapes based on what region, but they're basically a small 2-bite cake that have a very thin cake outer layer, and then they have a filling inside, right? So delicious stuff, one of my favorites. They're often served with during the tea ceremony where they're accompanied by the Japanese, it's almost always served with a Japanese kind of a bitter Japanese green tea. And they have a different name when it's when they're used for the tea ceremony. But wagashi, that's what it's called. But it's delicious. One of my favorites. I don't know why that's bizarre foods. I mean, there's nothing really bizarre about it. It's just a very different style of dessert than we're used to. Yeah. You got to be careful with Japanese words that sound alike. I'll tell you a story sometime about my faux pas with the Japanese language. Number 15 is mochi. Now, mochi, if you've never had it, you probably have had it in only one form. And probably no others unless you've been to Japan. And that one form is probably mochi ice cream. All I can tell you is the first person to ever make mochi must have had a lot of time on their hands because mochi is this paste made from the glutinous rice that is in Japan. It's not glutinous. Rice has no gluten, rather. It is the slightly higher starch content rice that is in Japan, the medium grain rice. And what they do is they basically, originally, they had a hollowed out log or like a stump. And they would put up a whole big pile of rice in there. You have two guys with a wooden hammer. One hits it, and then the other hits it, and then this guy turns it. And then one guy hits it, the other guy hits it, and the other guy turns it. And he throws some rice flour on it so it doesn't stick. And one guy hits it, and the other guy hits it, and then they turn it. This is the traditional way of making it. But it takes a really long time to make it that way. I mean, you pound it over and over and over. You add water, and then you add flour, water, and then you end up with this gooey glob of. It's like Stretch Armstrong, but edible. It's that sticky, right? So the amount it's pulled apart, it's rolled into little white balls, and you eat it as a treat. It's sweetened sometimes, but a lot of times they don't just eat it sweet. They use it. They make these dried versions of mochi. They're dehydrated, right? So. Around New Year's, they make this special soup with the red beans I talked about before that are the filling, but they make a savory soup from it. They drop them in, and then it cooks into this. It's kind of like you toast them first, and then you throw them in there, and it's this really chewy, sticky mochi. It's not sweetened at all that you almost choke on when you try to eat it. Anyway, mochi, you can find it anywhere. All right, we got Justice Oden. Oden is like one of my favorite meals ever. It's this hot soup they have in the wintertime, and it's like whole potatoes, whole eggs. It has all these weird concocted fish cakes and slices of tofu and things like that. They just put it in the soup, and you basically eat it in a makeshift tented area in the wintertime on pretty much any dark alley at night with a bunch of guys drinking. Fugu, poisonous blowfish. What the hell were they thinking? I don't know. I've eaten it, though. And it makes your mouth a little tingly. I'm just not sure why they eat it. Number 12, natto. And I have to finish this. list later. You have to go through it yourselves. Natto. Natto is this kind of gooey, sticky mess. It's fermented soybeans. And it doesn't taste so bad, but it smells awful. Basically, you take sometimes raw egg and soy sauce and julienned, really finely julienned or sliced green onion. You mix it in there, and it tastes pretty good. Yeah, I said raw egg, but it's Japan. Who cares? You have cast iron stomach or you don't. But it's the smell you have to get past. It comes frozen in little packets for a reason, because the odor can't escape the freezer if it's frozen, right? There are these little styrofoam packets, and it's 1 serving per. It's like maybe three ounces in there. It is a very interesting smell and really high in nutrition. But most people don't like it. Even a lot of Japanese people don't like it. You can put a mustard sauce on there, soy sauce, whatever. It's pretty tasty. All right, we'll have to get to that later because we have Wine Down Wednesday coming up in just a few minutes after the break from right out of Bentonville, Arkansas, with Laura Geen from Ramo de Olivo. So we'll talk a little bit about today is National Red Wine Day, and if I have time, I'll go back through the list. Depends on if we run out of content or not, and we'll go from there. Oh, man, there's some other good ones to get to in here, too. Anyway, Chawan Mushi. Oh, Funazushi. Oh, my gosh. This is like whole fermented fish. This is the original sushi. Edomai sushi. Oh, my goodness. That is a taste and smell to experience. All right. Hey, folks, we got a 2-minute break. We'll be right back. It's Wine Down Wednesday. I will try to finish the list if I can. If not, we'll have to do it next week, or I'll do it on the air, Facebook Live tomorrow. But stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Follow Chef Patrick Mosher on Twitter at Food Biz Pro.
Got an old car? You can donate it, whether it's running or not, to the United Breast Cancer Foundation and save a life. They'll even come and pick it up for free. The United Breast Cancer Foundation has saved hundreds of women's lives through their free or low-cost breast screen exams. But now they need your help. The United Breast Cancer Foundation wants to save more lives through early detection by offering women free or low-cost breast screening exams. And donating your old car, SUV, or truck, whether it's running or not, helps pay for them. Plus, you get a charitable tax deduction. Help the United Breast Cancer Foundation save lives by donating your old car, SUV, or truck. Call now for free pickup. 800-245-0823. 800-245-0823. 800-245-0823. Call right now. That number again is 800-245-0823.
Never Forgotten Apparel is more than just a premium women's and men's clothing line. It's a movement to remind us to wear American-made and serve those who serve us. Our heroes. Never Forgotten Apparel gives 20% of their total sales to nonprofits that support homeless veterans and off-duty firefighters, and 50% to individual veterans and firefighters in need nationwide. Check out neverforgottenapparel.com and get 15% off your purchase.
Are you tired of high cable TV rates? Sign up for Dish today and get a $500 bonus offer while supplies last. Plus, lock in your price for 2 years guaranteed. Call All American Dish, your Dish authorized retailer now.
800-570-6630. 800-570-6630. That's 800-570-6630. Offers require credit qualification, 24-month commitment, early termination fee, and e-auto pay. Restrictions apply. Call for details.
Yep, I'm still here. I'm still here. Okay, where did you come at? I don't know. All right, so we're back. And we are waiting for the illustrious Laura Geen, wine goddess and owner of Ramo de Olivo, with her wonderful husband, Tom, and 2 of my very best friends up in Bentonville, Arkansas. And while we're waiting for her to call in, all right, we will really quickly go through a couple of other food items out of Japan that are somewhat questionable. Funazushi. Oh my gosh, this is the one that is a smell to be experienced. And what I mean by that is a smell and taste to be experienced. It basically, it's fish that are typically caught from Lake Biwa, which is just outside of the Osaka area in Shiga Prefecture, and they're basically, the fish is caught. It's a type of fish from the out of the carp family, And they cure the fish by stuffing salt through the gills, covering the outside of the scales, Then it's packed in steamed rice and left to ferment from between 1 to 3 years. During the fermentation process, the meat and bones grow soft. The distinct aroma is one similar to cheese. Some believe that funazushi may be the original sushi. In the old days, funazushi was given as an offering to the gods, and usually the first funazushi of the season is left as an offering. The fish was also gifted to members of the samurai and aristocratic families. There are not many places that offer this dish due to the lengthy process it takes to make it. This delicacy is usually only found in the Shiga prefecture. There's a little bit in Osaka prefecture as well. The next one is called ochazuke. Ochazuke is actually really good. It's basically just a rice dish, rice with you throw in some, you pour okay, and let me try to say it in English one more time. It's rice, steamed rice, and then you put green tea over it, and maybe some of the nori flakes and some fish flakes, and then you serve it typically like 1 or 2 pickled plums on the side. And by pickled plums, these are tiny wild plums from Japan that are they're small, and they're almost like they feel like a peach. They're kind of fuzzy. They're about maybe a little bit bigger than a quarter across, right? And they're really heavily brined. They're super salty and very, very, very sour. It's unbelievable. Chazuke means submerged in tea, and it's one of my absolute favorite dishes in Japan. It's not really that weird. I don't know why, but it's just something that would be uncommon here. Chawanmushi, number 9. Chawanmushi is basically a steamed custard with little surprises inside. It's broth and egg that are whipped into a custard, and then you place a few things in the bottom, and then you put in some of that custard mix and a few things in the middle, and then some more of the custard mix and some of the stuff on the top, and then you steam it covered with plastic wrap. It's typically done in a teacup or something like that, and then it's steamed, and you eat it. It's really cool because you find these little golden nuggets of seafood or special mushrooms or things as you go through the dish, from top to bottom. It's actually one of my best, and that's one of my favorites, actually. I love that too in Japan. Chanko-nabe. That's a big... Chanko-nabe is it's actually traditionally only eaten by sumo wrestlers. And it's a big-ass pot of food that's simmered. It may have chicken and seafood and, what do you call it? Aburage, which is fried tofu, which is really airy. Aburage sometimes is... they make sushi out of it. It's a little square. Basically, it's a rectangle of half an inch or so thick rectangle of tofu that's fried. But what it does, it creates an air pocket inside, and then you cut that in half. You cut it corner to corner, and it makes a little triangle. And then you soak those in like a sweet broth, and then you let some of that you get rid of most of that liquid, and then you open up that pocket. You fill it with rice, and then that's the aburage type sushi, right? It's a sweet fried tofu wrapped around the sushi rice. But chanko-nabe is great. It's got mushrooms and carrots and chicken and these guys. So sushi wrestlers traditionally would gain weight by eating this right before they take a nap. I mean, they eat this gigantic, big ass pot of food and then go right. So and they have 3 or 4 workouts a day. It's amazing. If you think it's just a bunch of fat guys pushing each other out of the ring, you're completely wrong. It's an unbelievably demanding sport, and those guys certainly work very hard for what they get. And the best sumo wrestlers are very, very expensive. Matter of fact, one of the most winningest wrestlers of all time was a guy named Akebono. His real name was Chad Rowan, and he was born in Hawaii. He moved to Japan. Akebono was about 7 feet tall and was a very, very big boy. As a matter of fact, it burned up in a fire, but at one point I had a red handprint of his on this really special paper. It's kind of a way to get someone's signature, but he had a big red handprint on there for us. He had signed it, and it was just it was a very kind thing to do, and I lost it in the fire. But anyway, shoulda, coulda, woulda. Yeah. Shirako. Shirako's probably one of my least favorite foods in Japan. If you're following down the list, we are number 7. Go to Spoony Radio, at Spoony Radio on Facebook. Go to the Facebook Live, Facebook page, click on the live video, or actually, no, go down a little further, click on the link to the page where we're looking at now. And number 7, shirako. Shirako is actually, Japanese eat every part of the fish. And this is basically... I don't know how to say this gently, right? It's a specific part of the fish you've probably never even thought of, right? In English, shirako is known as milt. If you're uncertain what milt is, then let me clarify. Milt is made of the genitalia of fish when they contain sperm. Yes, the kanji, the Japanese characters of shirako, when translated into English, literally mean white children because it's very white. It kind of looks like brain. It looks like the squiggly portion of a brain, but it looks like they took a piping bag that you would use to decorate a cake, and you made all these squiggly, interesting, twisty, windy things back and forth that look similar to brain matter. She hasn't called in yet, has she, Ron? Hey, Ron. She hasn't called, has she? Okay, cool. We'll get to the other in a minute. All right, Laura, are you there?
I'm here. How are you?
I'm good, Laura. Sorry about that. Folks, we're going to switch gears for just a few minutes and get off the nasty Japanese questionable foods to eat when you travel to Japan. And we're going to go back to something really nice and cool, which, did you know it's National Red Wine Day?
Yeah, I know. I was just looking that up. It's National Red Wine Day, which always works in our favor whenever there's a National Wine Day.
Well, yes, exactly. Most popular red wines. Okay, so I said I was going to look this up and I didn't have time. In America, there we go. So, but hey, before we get to red wine, you were doing a tasting of some Chenin Blanc today, weren't you?
We will be doing it this afternoon, and we're looking forward to some really nice Chenin Blanc, which is not the most popular vineyard varietal, but people don't really know it here, as well as where is it really popular? South Africa, obviously in France. But there's some really great Chenin Blancs out there. So I've been trying to promote it to get people to come in and try something new, something different, and did another crisp white wine. So it's La Bruzzi is the winery, and we have the winemaker coming here today.
Awesome. That's one of the things I do miss about being up in Bentonville is you or Tom saying, hey, we have a tasting. Why don't you come by? You stop by. Oh, okay.
Exactly. Come by. I have some wonderful wine. So this is actually a South African wine, and it's a Chenin Blanc, though, and it's the winemaker. And the name of the winery is Lubanzi, 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 Chenin Blanc.
That sounds delicious. Yep. All right, well, save me a bottle, would you?
Yeah. Will do.
So, what is your favorite red wine?
Let's go back to red wine because you know what? I want to say this one thing to you, Patrick, and to anyone else who's listening, is that I used to say, I'm a red wine drinker, or you hear people that say, oh, I drink white wine. And I just want to change that way people think and that verbiage to say, I am a wine drinker. Not I'm a red or I'm a white.
Yeah, no.
I am a wine drinker because there's so many varietals and there's so many amazing wines that I never knew before I was in this business. And I've really grown to appreciate all kinds of wine, like even wines I wouldn't normally pick. They might be a little funky or a little bold or a little soft or a little sweet. I mean, all those wines have value, and so I want everyone to just say, I'm a wine drinker.
Absolutely.
And yes, today is National Red Wine Day, so today we will be drinking red wine. And, what are the most popular red wine varietals? I would say that Cabernet Sauvignon is probably the top red wine out there. My preference really is to just have a straight varietal is a little hard because they're
Yes.
so. We've talked about this in the past. The tannins, the boldness, depends on the region. Those Napa cabs are just so big, and maybe you like a Washington cab, which is a little bit more softer, easier to drink just on its own. I say that Cabernet is probably the most popular wine out there.
Which I think it is, yeah.
Which I love, especially with food. But I really love Merlots, and I know
So do
Merlots
I.
get a bad rap. And I've recently been adding a lot of really good Merlots to our wine shop. I really want to tell people that they need to go back to trying Merlot. Merlot is such a drinkable, easy, more of a velvety taste wine. So Merlots tend to be some of my favorites. Of course, I've always been a Pinot drinker because they're a little more fruit forward, a little lighter, easier to drink on their own rather than with food. And then the red blends. There's just so many amazing red blends now. I just went to the Newton Winery. We talked about that.
Oh my gosh, that looks so beautiful.
Drink this wine called The Puzzle and just shared with some good friends of mine on Sunday night. And that is like 5 different varietals. And when these talented winemakers make these beautiful blends, they really are like tasting and testing and putting these wines together that make some outstanding wines. That blends should not be, not to be overlooked. You should definitely be trying in your local wine shops and your local wine bars as many blends as they had, because you never know which one you're going to land on that's your favorite.
And that's absolutely right. So you talked about Cabernet. Cabernet is really, really, really tannic grape. And there's when I say like cabs are my favorite to eat with food. Cabs and actually Pinot Noir, because there's such a unique and flavor. Pinots they're a little tiny bit earthy, but they're not bold, right? But they have a uniqueness about each region has a uniqueness about that grape that's fantastic to have with food. But there are very few straight cabs out there. They're almost always mixed with actually a Merlot or like a cab, Syrah or Cab Franc or something like that.
Or a Petit Syrah or something.
Exactly.
They do that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. But you mentioned Merlots, and there are these instances of life where one turn of events, which happened to be a movie, by the way, really affects something like Merlot, or like something that's culturally acceptable all of a sudden becomes culturally unacceptable, but Merlot really got pushed to the side because of the movie Sideways. And it's really funny how that one movie influenced the American consumption of the Merlot grape. Or the Merlot, wines.
True.
And it's unfortunate because Merlot is a great way. There are some really complex Merlots out there, but if you're not a big red wine drinker or you don't think you like red wines, Merlot is a great entry. It's a great way to enter the world of red wines. It really is.
Smooth grape. It's such
a
smooth grape. It's such a lovely grape. Now, yes, you're right. There's some great complicated Merlots with some big tannins as well, but the reality is that Merlot on its own is such a drinkable wine, and it's such an easy wine to goes with everything, and that's one of the reasons why it becomes a blending grape. To soften the big tannins of those cabs, the Merlot is such a great softening, varietal, and it's so good on its own. Even in my olive oil shop, I have a Tuscan blend of different olive varietals that are from Italy. But there's one, the Lucca, which is it softens the boldness of it, and it just has more of a buttery taste. I was selling the Lucca on its own, just a straight varietal, and it became the most popular olive oil in my shop. And that's kind of like how Merlot is. I kind of like relate that to the Merlots. Merlots, and there's lots of people that come in and they're like, I'll just have the Merlot. And they don't even care what vineyard is from. But, people are becoming, I think they're coming back to Merlot. I think they're turning around and realizing that it was discounted for so many years because of a movie, which is crazy. I love that movie. It's funny, but
it is funny.
It was taken out of context.
Absolutely, yeah. Because it's just funny that the one pretend critic in the movie was just too snobby to drink Merlot. But then again, he drank right out of the spit bucket. So Oh, yeah.
It was pretty gross.
It was. Pinots, right? Pinot Noir, production is really low for Pinots because that's such a finicky grape. It likes a very particular climate. But I'm telling you, those that do Pinot right, it's really an amazing grape. It's got that really light red color to it. And it's one of my all-time favorites. But now for a really good Pinot, you're starting to pay for it. It's moved up in the world.
You're right. It's moved up the ladder there.
It has moved up the ladder a lot recently.
Yeah.
It's probably with the wine connoisseur or the wine and food pairing expert. Pinot's typically one of the ones that they choose first. But Pinot, like I said, it's not because of its potential. It can have. It's funny because it have these really interesting woodsy, earthy kind of notes to it. It can be not a tough one to pair with food, but you still need something that's a bit hearty to stand up to it. Not necessarily a big steak, but something with some bold flavor or some smoky notes, or maybe some sort of earthiness to the sauce or something like that, a richness, right? It is one of my favorite wines, and there are some affordable out there in the $20 range retail. But do you guys have some good Pinots there, don't you?
We have some fabulous Pinots. We have some great California Pinots from Sonoma. Sonoma County does amazing with some Pinots that are right in the $20 range to $25. And now, of course, Oregon is the big area. Anywhere in Willamette or in Oregon have amazing Pinots because they do like the cooler, wetter climes. Those grapes do better there, and so they're coming out with some amazing Oregon Pinots. And yes, I've won the Rascal. That is super affordable. That's only, I believe I sell for $17 a bottle. It's really a great one. We sometimes have it on our Tuesday night list. We have some they go very expensive, like the whole cluster, and then the ones that come down, they're well under $20, so it's amazing to find a good Pinot under 20, and we have them, because we have so many varietals, but we also have some that are just over that would probably blow your socks off. They're just going to go with everything.
And
that's what we love about the Pinots. They kind of go with everything.
And the great Pinots, the really balanced Pinots, they really are. They kind of go across the board. So, okay. So on that note, real quick. Well, we have a few minutes left. Let's talk one more varietal. Let's see.
Okay.
So Syrah or Shiraz, whichever you want to call it. Zinfandel is one of my favorite grapes. It's one of the oldest also that they've been, one of the oldest grapes in California. But I was just reading something that I thought was really interesting. It's taken them a long time to figure this out. And for decades, they were fighting over the origin of this grape. But they've actually proven that it comes from an obscure Croatian grape. I didn't know that.
I mean, just reading that too.
Were you really?
God, that's so funny that we both read the same thing. That it's actually being traced to Croatia. I'm like, Croatia? That's so interesting because that is totally on my bucket list. I need to go there because I hear Croatia is like a throwback to Italy in the 50s.
Yeah, I've heard
in there.
Well, I've had some relatives go there. It was one of their wonderful places to go. They loved it, and it's still historically intact. A lot of it, right? It's just gorgeous. I don't know if you've seen the photo, the images from Croatia, but what a beautiful place. Maybe someday I'll get.
I'm sure we'll love the wine there.
Probably. Well, and if you don't, you just you drink a little more, and you'll love the evening. But yeah, it's I've not spent a lot of time in the furthest east in Eastern Europe I've been was really not far. I traveled across the what used to be the Czechoslovakian border from Dresden in Germany, way back when they were still in East and West Germany. Went over into the Saxon Alps, Sächsische Schweiz in German. And it's just this amazing region. But that's just across the border into, I think, what's now the Czech Republic. But I would love to go further east and it looks so fairy tale-ish almost,
It does.
Yeah. I can't wait.
Because
Someday.
it feels so untouched from World War II. So it was one of the countries that really they left alone. So that's kind of interesting to go, to check that out. That would be really interesting.
Yeah, and it hasn't gone through the civil wars that like Bosnia and other places have either. So fortunately.
Exactly.
Yep. Someday.
And a lot of Italians.
Are there really?
Someday. A lot of Italians, I think, trace their roots over to Croatia. So that's interesting too.
It is interesting.
Yeah.
All right, so I don't know if you've been listening. Probably not. I know you have a busy day every day, but I've been going through this list of bizarre foods from Japan, right? And I'm down to like the last 6. So I'm not trying to gross anybody out, but I'm down to number 6. Bizarre food number 6 out of 20, I think it's 20, is of the final 6 is whale meat. Now, I've never had whale meat. My friend Miles, who I was speaking about earlier, who has this great sushi bar in California, he's up in northern San Diego County near Miramar. And he's got a place called, next time you're in La Jolla, go up to Kappa Sushi, Kappa. Great guy.
I will do that.
He and I worked together for years in Denver, and then I brought him back from Hawaii to work with me at Pioi's out on Coronado. So, but whale meat. If you've ever seen it, whale meat is so dark it looks like beet, right? And they slice it thick like they would cut tuna sashimi. Now, I'm not a big. I've never tried it. I'm not sure I would ever try it just because of the. Just the turmoil surrounding that, but it's interesting. Now, I'm not going to venture a guess at what red wine would go with that, so I think we'll just skip over this one. And there are only a few restaurants in the country you can eat that in, but would you try it?
A cab.
Exactly.
I personally probably would not, because I am with you from an environmental standpoint. I don't believe in fishing whale, and especially since that they're like have almost a human brain, like they're so advanced.
Exactly.
I don't think I could eat them. I just don't think I could. I have a hard time eating meat to begin with. I'm very squeamish.
and they're
unfortunately.
and they're actually and they're a mammal, right? So it's a very different thing from eating fish for me. If I was really drunk, I'd probably. In Japan, they get you really drunk over there. I'd probably try it, but never tell anybody. Right? I'd never admit to it. But
right. Give me a little taste. Just
at least
give me a little taste.
I'll be honest about that.
Say I did it. Right?
So
yeah.
Number 5 is habushu. Habushu is basically, it's this. It's an Okinawan snake wine, is what it is. It's the habu snake. It's Japan's only venomous snake, and it's only found in Okinawa. And they're placing a bottle of this liqueur, and then there are 2 methods of making this alcohol, and both are equally horrifying. 1, the snake is drowned in the alcohol. 2, the snake is frozen, gutted, then placed in the alcohol. Regardless of the method, the end result is this terrifying bottle of liquor that has an entire snake floating inside. Now, I have never had that. I haven't, but there is another one from somewhere else in Southeast Asia. Vietnam, I believe, or Laos. And basically it's cobra liquor. And someone I know brought it back, an engineer had gone over, brought it back. And it almost smells, have you ever had rattlesnake?
What? I have not.
It's like
have you?
Yeah, it's a really flaky texture like frog legs have, but it's got a slightly almost a reptilian fishy, aroma to it, and it's got a texture that it's actually it tastes great, but you can almost smell that coming through the bottle. You can smell it. It's strong, right? And I tried it, and I'll tell you what, habushu, the Japanese version, is a lot cleaner, but I will never, ever, ever, ever try this stuff from Southeast Asia again. And that stuff from Japan is expensive. It's like $500, $600 a bottle.
Ooh, yes.
Oh, now locust.
Snake wine. We don't sell that here, just so you know.
No. It's not either. So locusts. Now I have had, and they basically call them crickets, but I have had locusts in Japan. It's a great source of protein, and it's baked and typically served with like this. It's like a sweet glaze. It's almost like a soy glaze on there, and it was made right in the home of our host. It was really good. It was pretty tasty. I was really drunk and it was like midnight. After drinking for 15 hours. So I would have thought that, oh my gosh, that was the worst hangover ever. the family that I was visiting in Niigata, Japan, they were rice farmers, and their rice is of super high quality, and they use it for sake production. And so the old man brought out this giant bottle, the giant bottles of sake, and we finished one of those, not to mention a couple smaller bottles of sake, and I don't know how many beers in the morning, starting at like 9 a.m. We drank till like midnight. Oof. And and not to mention there's a little bit of scotch in between. I was literally pickled from the inside out, and I never want to feel like that again. Matter of fact, I will never feel that way again. Ever. Yeah.
That's good to know. Not good for you.
Oh, the next one is Maguro Nakaochi. This is this isn't really that big of a deal. It's we do this in the United States too. This is basically when you cut a tuna into 4 sections and then you sell the meat off, there's a bone structure in tuna that's basically like every other fish. Bones running north and south, top to bottom, right? And the spine down the center. So along those bones there's a lot of meat stuck to them. And so you scrape it off, and that's what becomes like spicy tuna and things like that in your tuna rolls. So that's not actually that big of a deal. Yeah. I mean, people wouldn't know if I didn't tell them right now, but that's where your spicy tuna roll comes from, folks. And the last one, number 2, tamago kake gohan. That's not a big deal. It's raw egg yolk broken over really hot rice, and you stir it into the bowl of rice, and it cooks the egg. It's actually pretty tasty. But number 1, and I think Chenin Blanc might be the one for this, or maybe just some of that snake alcohol to get it out of your mouth, is chicken sashimi, and I've had that as well. It's seared on the outside, and then it's served rare throughout the middle. The texture's actually really good, and I never got sick, so just saying.
Well, that's good.
Well, we're about out of time, Laura. I can't believe that I actually had time to get those in there, but maybe a nice crisp Chenin Blanc or a really good
Chenin
oaky
Blanc
Chardonnay.
with your chicken sashimi or your tamagro.
Oh, my gosh. Anyway, hey, I miss you guys, Laura. Give Tom a big hug, and anything else is from you, and I'll get up there and see you soon, okay?
Okay, love to see you soon.
All right, thank you. Again, that was Laura Geen of the illustrious, this beautiful place. It's Ramo de Olivo up in Bentonville, Arkansas. You can find them on Facebook. Hey, folks, 10 seconds left. Thanks for listening today. You know what? Watch me on Facebook and YouTube Live. We'll be doing some really fun stuff over the next few days. And listen, we'll see you next week. Don't forget to listen or starve. Ciao for now.